Hey y'all, it's me, Kevvie! Yay, it's still Pride Month. And after my drag documentaries video, I got a request from Miss Reads a Lot to do a video on my favorite drag films. But I decided before I can do that, I should have a separate video dedicated to the films of Divine and John Waters. Like I said in my drag documentaries video, Divine was the world's most famous drag queen before RuPaul. Her success in large part came from the films she made with John Waters. These films are iconic cult classics and hold a significant place in queer and drag history. Most of the early John Waters short films have never had a public release. However, the Diane Linkletter story is available to watch on YouTube, and clips from the others can be seen in the I Am Divine documentary, including Eat Your Makeup's infamous recreation of the JFK assassination where Divine plays Jackie Kennedy. I'd never seen Mondo Trash Show until very recently. Like 2 days ago. It was never given a home video or digital release due to music licensing issues. Waters didn't bother to get rights for the music when he made it, so trying to acquire them now would just be cost prohibitive. However, it has been uploaded to YouTube, so now I finally got to watch it. It's mostly a silent film set to music with occasional lines of dialogue thrown in. I gotta say straight up, this was a terrible film. Awful. John Waters has stated that this film should have just been a short film and not feature length, because it's currently padded as hell. There's literally 2 whole minutes of just watching Mary Vivian Pierce stand at a bus stop. The toe sucking scene, just watching a dude suck on her toes, is 10 whole minutes. Even the Virgin Mary scene that I liked at first went on so long it just ruined it. The one scene I did really like was when they were taking Divine and friends into the mental institution and they played a song from The Wizard of Oz. It was a very clever choice because the scene paralleled Dorothy and friends walking down the yellow brick road. Overall, this film sucks and is not worth watching unless you are a hardcore John Waters fan. Even then, since it's on YouTube, I'd recommend watching it at double speed. Multiple Maniacs is where John Waters and Divine really come into their own. Divine's wicked, filthy persona is developed, and there is some semblance of plot. This was also the film that introduced Edith Massey, one of my favorite people ever. Edith Massey often plays over-the-top characters in incredible outfits like Divine, but since she was a woman, nobody really seems to lift her up as the drag icon that she really is. I do though. Edith Massey is a drag icon, and I love every role she played. My favorite part of Multiple Maniacs is when Divine and Mink Stole are in the church. Divine takes a rosary and puts it up Mink Stole like beads. I don't know what I can say or not, but beads. While moaning, "Consider the station of the cross. Consider the stations of the cross." This film also has the iconic scene of Divine being attacked by a giant lobster. It's hilarious and irreverent, and I love it. Pink Flamingos is the film that launched John Waters and Divine into cult film status. This film is about as after midnight as any film could possibly get. It is by far the filthiest of the films they ever made. The scene most people have heard of from this film happens at the very end when Divine eats literal dog shit. Going into production, John Waters wondered, what's the worst thing we can do that isn't illegal yet? And that's how they came up with the dog shit idea. It's vile and disgusting, and the rest of the film is really just as nasty. It is a hard film to watch if you don't have the stomach for it, but its place in queer history is undeniable. After the success of Pink Flamingos, they went on to make Female Trouble. While not as raunchy as its predecessor, it still has a good amount of filth. What makes this film superior, in my opinion, is the storytelling. Finally, John Waters has written a really good script, following the life of Divine's character, Dawn Davenport, from troubled teen to celebrated criminal to death row inmate. By far, the greatest thing about this film is Edith Massey. She plays Aunt Ida, Don's nemesis. Edith's costume in this film is amazing. She plays the ultimate fag hag, lamenting that her nephew isn't gay. The world of heterosexuals is a sick and boring life. The film is hilarious and an absolute must-see. The next film John Waters made, Divine is completely absent from. She was in New York doing a stage production called Woman Behind Bars. Despite her absence, this film shines through the performances of Edith Massey, Mink Stoll, and Jean Hill. This was Jean Hill's first film with John Waters, and she fits in perfectly amongst his cast of regulars. Edith Massey is again given an incredible role, playing the queen of this degenerate society. This film isn't the best John Waters film, but it's still worth a watch for these amazing women. Now we've come to my favorite Divine film, Polyester. Polyester is a 180 from Divine's previous roles. Instead of being the filthiest woman alive, she's now Francine Fishpaw, the uptight suburban housewife whose family is full of deviance. She is incredible in this role, and alongside her is Edith Massey as Cuddles, my favorite role of hers. This film is so funny. One of my favorite lines is when Cuddles is on a stakeout to find out if Francine's husband is cheating on her. Cuddles calls her up and says, "I seen him. I thought he was walking his dog, but it turns out it was his date." And then they share a cake by splitting it in half. This film was groundbreaking for starring Tab Hunter as Todd Tomorrow, Divine's love interest. They have a kissing scene, which was a big deal for not only having two men kissing on screen, but it wasn't played for laughs. They treated that scene like a genuine romantic relationship, featuring a fat cross-dresser. Oh, I love it. Of all the Divine films, I think this one would be the easiest for a newbie to enjoy. The filth is present but not excessive, and it is incredibly funny. If you only watch one of Divine's films, I would suggest this one. Next up, we have the only film starring Divine that wasn't made by John Waters. It's called Lust in the Dust. It's a parody of Western films, and it reunites Divine with Tab Hunter. It's fun and entertaining, and I don't really have anything else to say about it. Now we are at John Waters and Divine's greatest success, Hairspray. This is the film that catapulted them from cult status into mainstream. Hairspray was such a huge hit that I don't even need to tell you what it's about. It's more likely that you've heard of the musical version, either the stage production or the movie with John Travolta. But before that, there was the 1988 film starring Divine and Ricky Lake. It has a star-studded cast, with Vitamin C from that song, that guy from that show, Debbie Harry, and Sonny Bono. But despite all this, it's never a film I really reach for when I'm looking to watch John Waters. Honestly, I hardly remember it. Maybe I need to rewatch it and I'll enjoy it more, but with the success it had, it has to be good. Sadly, Hairspray was the final film Divine ever made, and she died shortly after its release. So now we are entering the post-Divine era of John Waters films. The first of these is Crybaby. Honestly, this is my least favorite John Waters film. Well, actually, now it's second least favorite after that awful Mondo trash show. The killer for me is that the lead is Johnny Depp. I don't like Johnny Depp. But on top of that, it just doesn't feel like a John Waters film. After the success of Hairspray, they received a much bigger budget from producers, but that means they also had to conform to their producers' demands. And you can see that all over this film. The filth just isn't there. The worst thing they do is the leading lady using a jar to collect her tears. It's weak sauce. If you're looking for watered down Waters, or you're into 60s greaser shit, then maybe this film's for you. Serial Mom is my favorite John Waters film, period. It's so fucking funny. Oh my gosh. Kathleen Turner plays a perfect suburban housewife who turns homicidal when people don't conform to her idyllic vision of suburbia. But the whole time she's being homicidal, she maintains her perfect housewife appearance. There's so many great quotes in this, a great cast, and one of my all-time favorite cinematic moments. Picture it, an elderly woman singing along to Tomorrow from Annie before being bludgeoned to death by a leg of lamb. Fuck, it's so good. It's also the acting debut of Patty Hearst, who we'll get into later. Honestly, this is John Waters at his best. And it's a film that just about anybody could enjoy. Pecker is okay. It's about a kid who does photography, who gets discovered, and has to adjust to being a celebrity. It works. Nothing special. Christina Ricci's in it. Next. I love Cecil B. Demented. It is a beautiful homage to independent filmmakers, with a story based on Patty Hearst, who was kidnapped by a terrorist group and brainwashed into joining their cause. Melanie Griffith plays actress Honey Whitlock, who is kidnapped by a gang of cinema terrorists who force her to star in their radical picture while revealing to her the ugly truths of Hollywood. This film is hilarious, and I love the whole cast of characters. It's an excellent, underrated film and a personal favorite. The last film John Waters made was A Dirty Shame in 2005. I love this film, starring Johnny Knoxville, Tracy Ullman, and Selma Blair. It is the story of Jesus and his disciples if they were sexual deviants in Baltimore. You've got the deviants committing all kinds of outrageous sex acts, and the elderly prudes fighting to save morality. This is a return to form for John Waters. It's almost as filthy as the 70s films, but it also has the humor and big-name casts of his later work. It's an excellent blending of all these things that make John Waters work. It's silly and camp and a whole lot of fun. I definitely recommend it. So here is how I would rank the John Waters films. I'd say the top 5 are all mandatory viewing. All of them but the bottom 2 are good, so you really can't go wrong. The important thing is to know your taste level when choosing a John Waters film. Can you stomach filthy shock value? Do you think you can, but not so much? If you're more squeamish, definitely stick with the later films. But if you're in the mood for something subversive and uncomfortable and unique, you'll love the early ones too. Which of these movies have you seen before? Got a suggestion for other drag films in my next video? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if it pleases and sparkles, I'll see you in the next video. Mwah!